Hi there, and you're welcome to another informative and insightful episode of AAU Talks on AAU TV, the voice of higher education in Africa. And as we always stay poised to bring you content that inform you, to transform you, and right from the serene atmosphere and campus of the University of Environment and Sustainable Development, you are sure to receive the best of a good interview with lecturers and university management here, right? And today's topic is looking at the practicality of university research for the advancement of socio-economic development. And with me to discuss this topic is Professor Raphael Deborah. He is the Dean for the School of Natural and Environmental Science. And you get to know who he is. Okay, let's go for a break. When we come back, I'll let you know who he is. And as usual, we'll give it a zoom into discussion. Stay with us. Welcome back to AAU Talks on AAU TV. My name is Ajaman Ochudako. Before we went to the break, I told you about a topic that we're looking at, the practicality of university research for sustainable development and socio-economic growth. But bear with me, a statement was made by Professor Philip G. Altbach, and he is the research professor and also the director for the Center for International Higher Education at the Boston University College in the USA. And he said that it is crucial for lower and middle income countries with their research universities to ensure that they play that crucial role and improving their research and also building very cutting edge and effective academic systems which will be able to propel their countries to compete effectively in the global knowledge society, because the global knowledge society is diverse and is always growing, it's evolving all the time, and you need to buy yourself a stake in this society. And you know what? The onus lies on these research universities to ensure that countries are there and play an instrumental role and not a dominant role. And that's why I have with me Professor Raphael Deborah to help us talk about how much or how well universities can be much more efficient in their research to help their countries have a good foot on the global knowledge table. So, Prof, you're welcome to AAU Talks.
Thank you very much.
I'm glad to have you here.
Thank you so much. And you are welcome to the University of Environment and Sustainable Development.
Great. It's a wonderful pleasure. I'm just glad to be here. And glad to have you on the table with me on AAU Talks. And let's find out from you how it's been so far, being the dean for a very, very instrumental program, let's say department, faculty here.
Yeah, it has been very challenging, but because we are in the state where environmental issues are now critical more than before, and within the country and on global world. We have one Earth, and everybody on Earth is also dependent on the environment for survival. So, and we've made a lot of instruments out of the environment. So we are at the stage where the environment is crying for help. Otherwise, our existence on Earth will not be possible. So this school has been established at the critical point to produce manpower needed to rescue the Earth from what I would say the environmental rapists. So that they put in their effort to rescue the Earth from the degradation that is meeting us these days. Our environment is deteriorating. Think about pollution. Our air, water bodies are getting polluted. The resources are dwindling. And in no time, if we don't do anything about it, then we cannot survive as people on Earth.
A popular quote on research that goes that research is the heartbeat of life. And that is quite inevitable, because in each day of living, there's an amount of research that we don't actually notice that we're doing research. But today, I believe that our interview is going to demystify the tenets of research for people to appreciate its essence in our everyday life and also in higher education, much more particularly and imperatively. Let's look at the existence of research policies in Africa. And are there any layout, or let's say, well-pronounced or profound research ethics that we have that guides the way we do our research in Africa?
I haven't come across any booklet that has been published to guide research in Africa. But if you analyze it critically, it means research exists with us, and we do research every day according to the universal guidelines. You know, we wouldn't have been as we were, as the history was telling us that we were even living in caves some years ago. It is through research that we have come this far. Our forefathers were living in houses that were made up of mud, but through research, now we are in concrete houses, and I don't know the next houses that we are going to live in. It is through research. Even the architecture of our buildings have changed over the years through research. So research is inevitable in our lives. It is simply the generation of new knowledge and also questioning the existing knowledge and try to find answers to those questions.
Great.
These are basically what research means.
Great. You know, it now brings to bear that if research is, I mean, like the air we breathe all around us, then it means that we must be very, very committed to enhance research in our part of the world. You know, we look at some parts of the world like the USA where institutions can raise up to or more than $1 billion just to enhance research. And we have a quota by the African Union that at least you have a target, 1.0 of our GDP should be into research. What has been our research budgetary commitment thus far in your perspective?
As a continent and as a nation, I don't think we have any research budgets committed by African governments. I don't know, but in our country, there is no pool in which you can just present your proposal for fund for research. That means that it hasn't been prioritized for reasons that we cannot tell, but probably it is due to the gap between researchers and developers. Sometimes here in Africa, speaking truth to power is challenging, because probably if you don't take care, you hamper a political career of one government or an individual. So researchers do their research and publish it somewhere. Developers do development, or policymakers do their policy without reference to the existing research, you know, because probably they see it as extra luggage to their developmental agenda.
You know, one would say then the least of all is that we may have research policies. How effective are they in guiding the quality of our research in Africa?
Every organization, every group, every institution work with these three pillars: the institution itself, policies, and human beings. So if the first two are very strong and the human aspect is not committed, then the two cannot work effectively. And our problem is the human aspect, where people want to develop, people want to put in policies without reference to the existing research. A case at stake is what sometimes some politicians do. They climb the political platform, promise their followers that I'll give you 10 boreholes in your constituency. But the researcher will tell you that no, the soil here requires that it is too acidic, so you have to nullify it. This will bring the cost of the borehole to, say, 1 or 2. Do you think the politicians will lose the 8 votes and dig only 2 boreholes? No. He will go ahead and dig the 10 boreholes and say, oh, when I came to power, I've been able to do this. You see, so I see it as extra baggage for them when they want to add research to the development. And that is what is lacking in Africa. We think we can do things without reference to the new information or the challenges of the researchers that have been done to the status quo. So we do things haphazardly. The researcher will do his work, and the developer or implementer will also implement it in a different way.
That's an intriguing finding right there. But let us now look into the commitment of university leadership towards research in our institutions. And let's start with political leaders. I know your initial comments about political leaders can be like a camouflage, quite meandering to the desires or let's say the requests from higher education institutions towards research, and also their goals and their manifesto. But what has been your point of view in terms of political leaders and their commitment to research?
Personally, I see it as lip services, where they will tell you, oh yes, we will use research for this, research for that. But when it comes to implementation, it is not as we see it. This is manifested in the various environmental degradation that we are seeing. Our forests are dwindling, our wildlife is getting extinct, our water bodies are every day being polluted. We have research works existing. Even when you go to the www, the World Wide Web, you get a lot of research work. But you ask yourself, don't they refer to some of these works? The answer might probably be because there's a gap. Whenever we are implementing it, they don't bring in the researchers to explain to them. Most often than not, the researcher has used his meager salary to conduct the research and publish the results. I don't think he can go further to disseminate the information. So the onus will have to lie on the two of them to come together, and then for win-win situation where the researcher will explain his recommendation to the implementing agencies. Most often than not, most researchers do present their results overseas. For some reason, probably they got the funding not from the country, but outside the country. For that matter, they have to go and present it over there. On the other side, if you've not invested in something, you feel shy or not strong enough to use it. That is to say that our people, our leaders have not invested much into the research in the country. So they feel reluctant to use it. Coming to the university leaders, they all know the need for the research for national development and economic development. So they keep encouraging their followers, their people to do research. Because in the university system, even if you don't publish, you perish. So for people not to perish, they conduct research, yes. But it is up to the implementers to also come closer to what my VC these days say, the gown is meeting the crown. The university researchers are trying to meet the people, the community in which we are, to disseminate the information and implement the research results.
Great. So, Prof, let's look at also the the university councils, the councils for tertiary education, the trustees and all that. What do you also think that from your perspective, are they committed to research?
Again, they wish there could have been a research fund somewhere where researchers can go and get research fund and invest it in their research work, so that at the end of the period they can share the information to the public for national development.
Okay.
It remains a wishful thinking because we all go into the national treasury for the budget, but I haven't heard any budget in the country where a research fund or so and so percentage has been devoted for researchers in the country. So it makes it difficult for them to, they can only encourage and advise people to do research, but they cannot force to a certain extent. Though the university policies state that when you are employed in the university as a researcher, you will be on contract for the first 6 years, within which, when you've not conducted any research, they will not renew the contract for you. So that is where the perishing issue comes in.
Perishing.
Yes, and people don't want to perish, so they will publish, you know. But we need to step it up, you know, to the level where the dissemination and implementation of the research results will be effected.
Let's now count on university administration as well as a last resort when it comes to the value chain, and see if let's say all hopes are lost with the other stakeholders, university administration and their commitment to research, in your perspective.
Yes, I think they will continue to encourage, because the funds are approved by the same central treasury. So if the commitment is not there, they can only encourage. They can only praise people. They can tell people to continue to do research and improve. Because in the university we have 3 major mandates: teaching, research, and community service. So the 3 goes together, and they can only use the encouragement. Fortunately, the international world also extend their invitation to us to look for, so that we can apply for funding for research. But we are also going to another direction: Ghana without aid. So
Okay, let's see.
if you are going without aid, then it's time you sit down and then have your own funding in a smaller way, so that researchers can continue to do their research.
Great. You would have to stay with us for more of our discussion on the practicality of university research towards socio-economic advancement. For this short break, stay with us. We'll be right back. We're back on the discussion with Professor Edward Raphael Deborah on the practicality of university research and how significant it is for socio-economic development. And before we went to the break, we were looking at approaching the innovative ways. So, you know, all the stakeholders have not proven to be the sole solution creators to enhance research and also give you a loose front to be able to have research done easily. So then perhaps we then need to seek for innovative ways to source of funds. Has there been any means to identify innovative ways of gathering funds to enhance the same research that we desire to put out there?
Yes, you know, we make laws for ourselves. So do we make budgets for ourselves?
Yes.
So why can't we, as a people, as a nation, as individuals, as group, devote just a little of our earnings into research fund. You know, we just have to contribute to the research fund. People have money in the country. They can institute research funds and channel it through a certain system where the corruption will not rule its ugly head there. Yes, and transparency will work. Whom you know will not come there. And institute it. After all, it is our nation. And it will help the way we are doing things haphazardly. You know, it will save a lot of environmental issues that is confronting our country. Now, everywhere, our water bodies are deteriorating. Our mountains, people are, because of maybe the heat in areas, people are moving towards the mountainous areas to settle there. And it is destroying our mountainous ecosystem, wetlands. Now, all the wetlands have been converted to either filling stations or magnificent buildings. We have research results showing the impact of losing these ecosystems on us. But who cares? The person who should care, again, sees it as an extra burden or extra luggage. So he will not touch it at all and go ahead and do what they are doing. If you are able to institute a research fund in the country, either national or even at the district levels, you can see how things will go, because the people, the policymakers had then invested into it. If it is a traditional council, the chief has invested into it. Therefore, he would like to benefit from the results of the research that he has invested into it. And the researchers will not be left ajar. They will bring them together also for them to explain, to guide them in the way of implementing the results.
You know, many people out there, after observing from their own point of view, think that university research has not really played any significant role in the country's socio-economic development. They find university research quite non-tailored. The content of it, the relevance of it. But I want to just find out from you, how innovative or how has university research contributed to the innovation that we have experienced thus far in the African continent?
You see, in my opinion, people just fear the gown. So the gap between the gown and the crown is what is frightening them, and issues like p-values and those kind of things. But when we come together, the university and the community, and for that matter, implementers of the policy come together, the researchers will be able to explain the meaning of those things to them. So the research will not be so scary. Even these days, what is coming up is that people are moving away from the industrial-based research to informative-based research. Now we depend on information more than any other thing. You know, people don't care about, your child will not care about die and give him a piece of land. No, but he prefers you giving him a computer. So we are in the state where information is very, very critical. And as Africans and Ghanaians, we should look for the information. We should depend on information for our development. We shouldn't take things for granted. We shouldn't do things in an ad hoc manner anymore, because our society is changing. We've moved from the state of gathering and shepherding to an information stage. We've even passed through industrial stage. So the earlier we do things with current information, the better.
Lots of studies in the African continent, also globally, have realized, or let's say, provided a finding that African institutions or research basically from the African continent are below, let's say, 1% of commercializing. We find it so hard to commercialize our findings and bring meaning to what we do. So we shelve our findings, and these findings are $1 million findings. Look at it. Hitherto they have been shelved.
Yes, this is what I'm trying to say, that the implementers see the research finding as extra baggage. So they will not venture into it. Eventually, the researcher will leave it and continue with his research. If you are digging a borehole and the researcher has tested the underground water and published that this underground water is very critical, we should rather clean the surface water and depend on it. The businessman there is also advertising that, oh, our water is from the downhill, very clean, with a lot of minerals. How is he going to read your research finding to tell you that for him to stop? So that is it. We just have to entice the developers, businessmen, to also regard research as part of their mandate to read and consider it. Because if you research before you implement or you develop, you save a lot of costs. You save a lot of costs. Think about an ordinary farmer who used to plant his maize haphazardly and has read a research work, an experimental work where the maize is planted in rows, and has found out that at the end of the harvest, the person who planted in rows harvested more than the haphazard planter. You know, I think the next year he will move away from that one and go for the row planting.
Great.
Yes.
Great.
So we shouldn't fear research, but rather we should take our time. We waste a lot of times reading unnecessary things that would have improved and color our life. We don't care about them, but things that will not bring development to us, we devote a lot of time. How can a 65-year-old nation don't have a single organization that administers research fund to its people?
Let's look now about, society today can now do without the pandemic. So in our social equation, we have pandemics involved. Let's wrap up on this one. How well has COVID-19 influenced research, and how well has it changed the focus of institutional research towards further imminent pandemics, or we're still going by the traditional way?
This pandemic has been a great lesson to us, and it has changed the world in general, and it should change the way we approach things, because we cannot even predict what will happen. However, if we intensify our research and give regards to the research that we do, we'll be able to predict on certain lines what might have happened. You see, when the pandemic came, we all saw it. We didn't have a single facility where people can be housed, But elsewhere, we don't know how they managed to get some of them. And this is where we should sit up and say that, hey, we should stop joking. and think as people. If we are going, we say we are Ghana beyond aid, then in our own small way, we should think locally and act globally.
Great, and that's a wonderful way to end it with Professor Edward Deborah on how we can develop a global mindset, a global, national, and local mindset, so we can build strong researches that are robust locally, nationally, and also globally. Thank you very much, Professor Edward Deborah, and he is the Dean for the School of Natural and Environmental Sciences, for his time on us and how we can have practically strong researchers that will be able to shoot the economy to the top. So, Prof, thank you very much. Thank you very much also for your time, for watching us on AAU Talks. We bring you more interviews and more topical issues in higher education. Have a nice day and bye.